A new clip has surfaced showing the moment former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez was stabbed by a truck driver in Indianapolis, and it's even more shocking than anyone imagined. The footage changes everything investigators thought they knew, revealing a split second that could decide who the real aggressor was. The shocking truth unveiled. Blood streaming down his chest, stumbling through the dimly lit streets of downtown Indianapolis at nearly 1 a.m, a former NFL quarterback clutches his wounds in what can only be described as one of the most disturbing pieces of footage to emerge in sports history this year. The viral video that has now amassed over 9 million views shows Mark Sanchez, yes, the same Mark Sanchez who once graced the cover of GQ magazine, the same quarterback who led the New York Jets to back-to-back AFC championship games, reduced to a bloodied, disoriented figure, staggering away from a violent confrontation that he himself allegedly instigated. But here's what makes this story even more explosive. The man who put those stab wounds in Sanchez's chest, a 69-year-old grease truck driver who was simply trying to do his job. And according to prosecutors who have reviewed extensive surveillance footage, that elderly driver acted in pure self-defense against an intoxicated, aggressive Sanchez who wouldn't take no for an answer. This isn't just another celebrity scandal. This is a cautionary tale about how quickly fame and reputation can crumble when alcohol, ego, and poor decision-making collide. The surveillance footage paints a picture so disturbing, so completely at odds with the polished television personality we've come to know, that it's forced us all to confront an uncomfortable reality. We never truly know what demons someone might be battling behind closed doors. And sometimes those demons emerge in dark alleys where split-second decisions can mean the difference between life and death. Let me take you back to that fateful night of October 4th, 2025. The details from police affidavits and surveillance cameras tell a story that becomes more shocking with each revelation. Sanchez was in Indianapolis covering the Colts-Raiders NFL game for Fox Sports, providing the expert analysis that had become his second act after his playing days ended. Something went catastrophically wrong. The timeline begins around midnight in an alley behind Loftmiller's Pub, adjacent to the Westin and Marriott hotels. This was the heart of the business district, where 69-year-old Perry Toll had backed his box truck into the Westin's loading dock to collect used cooking oil for his grease collection company. The surveillance footage shows approximately 20 minutes of Mark Sanchez wandering aimlessly through that alley before the confrontation began. Think about that for a moment. 20 full minutes of bizarre, erratic behavior captured from multiple camera angles, providing prosecutors with an incredibly detailed timeline of events that would prove crucial in determining who was at fault for what happened next. The video is deeply unsettling to watch, even for those of us who have seen countless hours of sports footage and thought we'd seen every side of Mark Sanchez. Sanchez appears profoundly intoxicated, his movements uncoordinated and erratic in ways that suggest he'd consumed far more alcohol than his body could safely process. He leans against walls for support, sometimes standing motionless for 30 seconds or more, as if trying to regain his bearings, then suddenly breaks into brief jogging bursts for no apparent reason, what witnesses and police would later describe as wind sprints in the alley. According to the police affidavit, when Sanchez finally approached Tolley's truck around 12:30 a.m., he was visibly impaired, slurring his speech dramatically, reeking of alcohol so strongly that Tolley could smell it from several feet away, his eyes unfocused and bloodshot. But intoxication alone doesn't tell the full story. What happened next crosses into something far more serious, transforming this from a case of public intoxication into something that could potentially send Sanchez to prison for years. According to Perry Toll's testimony, Sanchez demanded he move his truck immediately, becoming increasingly agitated and aggressive when Tolley tried to explain the situation. When Tolley explained he was performing authorized work for the hotel and couldn't simply abandon his job mid-task, Sanchez claimed he'd spoken to the hotel manager and insisted the truck needed to be moved right away, a complete fabrication, as there was no hotel manager involved and Sanchez had no authority whatsoever to be making such demands. When Tolley attempted to call his supervisor to verify the situation and potentially defuse the confrontation, that's when things escalated from a verbal disagreement into physical violence that would change both men's lives forever. Sanchez allegedly blocked Toll from making the call, then entered the truck cab uninvited, grabbed the elderly driver, and slammed him violently against the wall. A 38-year-old former professional athlete using his strength to assault a man more than 30 years his senior. Surveillance footage captures Sanchez throwing Perry Toll to the ground near a dumpster, the elderly man's body hitting the pavement with force that makes you wince just watching it. In that moment, according to Tolley's later statements to police, he genuinely feared for his life. "This guy is trying to kill me," he would tell detectives. Not hyperbole, not exaggeration, but the desperate thought of a senior citizen being physically overpowered by someone decades younger and significantly stronger, someone who had spent over a decade maintaining peak physical conditioning as a professional athlete. Tolley deployed pepper spray in a desperate attempt to stop the attack, which temporarily halted Sanchez's aggression and gave the elderly driver a brief moment to try to escape, but the pepper spray didn't deter him for long. According to the police affidavit and the surveillance footage, Sanchez continued his attack even after being pepper sprayed, leaving Tolley with only one option to protect his own life. The 69-year-old driver pulled a knife, a tool he carried for work purposes, and stabbed Mark Sanchez 2 to 3 times in the upper right torso and chest area. Both men collapsed amid pallets and debris in that alley, their blood mingling on the concrete, the aftermath of a confrontation that should never have happened in the first place. The post-stabbing footage shows the immediate aftermath, the video that has now been viewed millions of times across every social media platform imaginable. Mark Sanchez, clutching his chest where the stab wounds had penetrated, his shirt visibly bloodstained and soaked through, stumbling down the sidewalk in complete disorientation. The video has a grainy, low-light quality that somehow makes it even more disturbing to watch. You can see the dark patches spreading across his shirt. You can see the unsteady gait of someone who's lost a significant amount of blood, and you can see the complete confusion on his face as he struggles to process what has just happened to him. Emergency responders arrived at approximately 12:37 a.m., following reports that some witnesses initially thought might have been a shooting due to the severity of the injuries. Perry Toll was bleeding profusely from a deep facial laceration that penetrated through his cheek and into his tongue, an injury so severe that graphic photographs released by his family showed him in a neck brace, his face swollen and covered in bandages, looking like someone who had been through a traumatic assault. He was placed on a gurney and rushed to the hospital at 12:47 a.m., where doctors would work to repair the damage to his face and assess whether there was any permanent nerve damage or loss of function. Sanchez had somehow managed to stumble back into Loftmiller's pub, where police found him uncooperative and unable to provide a coherent account of what had transpired. His memory of the incident would prove conveniently fragmented. He could only recall grabbing for a window, nothing more. Whether this was genuine memory loss from the combination of severe intoxication and traumatic blood loss, or a calculated legal strategy advised by counsel to avoid incriminating himself, remains a matter of speculation and will likely be debated during the trial. What isn't speculation is that Sanchez was in critical condition, rushed to the hospital by ambulance with lights and sirens, and within hours would undergo emergency surgery for stab wounds that, according to his legal team, came dangerously close to being fatal, mere centimeters from vital organs that would have resulted in death before he ever made it to the operating room. Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears described the incident during a press conference that addressed not just the legal aspects of the case, but the broader implications for public safety, media responsibility, and the political exploitation that had already begun surrounding the incident before all the facts were known.
That it was completely unnecessary, that this was one of those situations that didn't need to occur. You have a 38-year-old former professional athlete who is alleged to be involved in a violent confrontation with a 69-year-old man, which is literally over a parking spot.
Think about the absurdity of that, a parking spot. That's what this entire nightmare was about. Not a matter of life and death, not a profound moral disagreement, but a parking space in an alley where Sanchez had absolutely no authority to demand anything from anyone, where he had no business interfering with a working man trying to complete his job in the middle of the night. The legal nightmare and public fallout. The legal machinery began grinding into motion immediately after Mark Sanchez was stabilized. Sanchez was arrested while recovering on October 5, 2025, initially charged with misdemeanors, including battery with injury, unlawful entry into a vehicle, and public intoxication. These preliminary charges alone were serious enough to damage his reputation and potentially cost him his broadcasting career. But as investigators continued reviewing surveillance footage and conducted follow-up interviews with Perry Toll, once he had received medical treatment for his injuries, the picture became even more damning than anyone initially suspected. By October 7th, just 3 days after the incident, prosecutors upgraded the charges to include a level 5 felony for battery, resulting in serious bodily injury. This wasn't just a procedural formality or prosecutorial overreach. This was a direct response to the severity of Tolley's injuries. and the overwhelming evidence that Sanchez had been the aggressor throughout the entire confrontation. In Indiana, a level 5 felony carries significant weight. If convicted, Sanchez faces 1 to 6 years in the Indiana Department of Correction, plus potential fines up to $10,000. More importantly, a felony conviction would follow him for the rest of his life, affecting everything from employment opportunities to his ability to travel internationally. We're talking about a man who earned approximately $15 million during his NFL career, who signed lucrative endorsement deals, who built a comfortable media career after retirement, now facing the very real possibility of spending years behind bars because of one drunken, violent night in Indianapolis. The trajectory from the Sanchez, as he was once affectionately called during his early success with the New York Jets, to criminal defendant facing felony charges, represents one of the most dramatic falls from grace in recent sports history. But here's where the story becomes even more complex and legally fascinating. Indiana has some of the most robust self-defense laws in the country. Prosecutor Ryan Mears explained during his press conference that Indiana recognizes the principle of stand your ground, which means individuals have no duty to retreat when faced with a threat to their safety. In legal terms, this meant Perry Toll had every right to defend himself using reasonable force, including, if necessary, deadly force, when he perceived his life to be in imminent danger from an aggressive attacker who wouldn't stop despite being pepper sprayed.
What's your understanding of Mark Sanchez's condition here? Was he intoxicated? Do you know that for sure?
Well, one of the allegations is that he was intoxicated. He has been charged with public intoxication.
The prosecutor noted that the investigation would include toxicology reports to determine exactly what substances were in Sanchez's system at the time of the incident, though his blood alcohol content alone would likely tell much of the story about his severely impaired judgment that night. But beyond the legal technicalities and the self-defense statutes, there was a profound human element to this story that couldn't be ignored or minimized. Perry Toll wasn't some abstract victim in a court document or a statistic in a police report. He was a real person whose life had been irrevocably changed by this encounter, someone who would carry both physical and psychological scars for the rest of his days. Graphic photographs his family released to the media showed a deep gash that penetrated through his cheek and into his tongue, injuries requiring a neck brace for stabilization, his face swollen and bruised in ways that made it clear this wasn't some minor scuffle. These were injuries that would leave permanent scarring, both visible and invisible, affecting his quality of life and his ability to work in the years he has left.
This person sustained very significant injuries as a result of this incident. This individual is dealing with not only significant pain, but also very likely facing the potential of having to deal with permanent scarring on their body.
Prosecutor Mears emphasized that Tolley's recovery would be a slow process, noting this is one of those events that's probably going to stay with him the rest of his life. Think about that from Toll's perspective for a moment. At 69 years old, working an honest job in the middle of the night to make ends meet, he was suddenly thrust into a life or death situation with a man 3 decades younger and significantly stronger. The trauma of that experience, the fear, the violence, the desperate struggle for survival would echo through the rest of his days, affecting his ability to feel safe in his workplace and changing his fundamental sense of security in the world. When the footage first went viral, particularly the video showing Sanchez stumbling away, bloodied from the scene, social media exploded with reactions ranging from shock and horror to political exploitation and dark humor. One post on X, formerly Twitter, showing the graphic aftermath accumulated over 9 million views, with thousands of comments dissecting every frame of the video and speculating about what had happened. Initial reactions weren't uniformly sympathetic to anyone involved. Some people, seeing only the footage of Sanchez bleeding and stumbling, assumed he had been a victim of random attack in downtown Indianapolis, another casualty of urban crime. This false narrative briefly took hold in certain media circles, with political figures using the incident as evidence that Indianapolis and other Democratic-led cities were out of control with crime and violence. Governor Mike Braun and other Republican figures initially called for federal intervention and criticized local leadership for being soft on crime. But here's where facts matter, and here's where the complete surveillance footage became absolutely crucial. Once the pre-incident videos emerged, showing Sanchez's erratic behavior and the full timeline of events, the narrative shifted dramatically. This wasn't random urban violence or a failing justice system. This was one individual impaired by alcohol, making catastrophically bad decisions that endangered another person's life. Indianapolis Police Chief Chris Bailey and prosecutor Ryan Mears held a joint press conference on October 7th, specifically to address the political exploitation of the incident and to set the record straight about public safety in Indianapolis. They presented data showing violent crime had decreased by 21% citywide, directly contradicting the narrative being pushed by certain politicians. The truth was clear. Sanchez hadn't been a victim of Indianapolis crime. He had been the perpetrator of it. Governor Braun and other political figures who had jumped on the incident to score political points quietly deleted their social media posts once the full facts emerged, a reminder of how quickly misinformation can spread in our current media environment and how important it is to wait for complete information before making politically charged statements. Meanwhile, Perry Toll took his own legal action beyond just cooperating with the criminal prosecution. He filed a civil lawsuit against both Sanchez and Fox Corporation, alleging permanent disfigurement, loss of bodily function, and severe emotional distress. The lawsuit specifically named Fox, arguing the network failed to supervise Sanchez despite his known propensity for harmful conduct under the influence of alcohol, a phrase that suggests Tolley's legal team believes there's a documented history of similar behavior. This raises fascinating and complex questions about corporate responsibility and employment law. Do networks have a responsibility to monitor the off-hours behavior of employees when they're traveling for work-related assignments? If Sanchez had a history of alcohol-related issues, and the lawsuit's language certainly implies that his employers were aware of such issues, did Fox have an obligation to provide oversight, support, or some form of intervention to prevent exactly this kind of incident? These questions will likely take years to resolve in civil courts, potentially setting precedents for how media companies manage their on-air talent during business travel. Sanchez posted a $300 bond on October 6th and was released from custody, though his physical recovery from the stab wounds proved far more challenging than simply walking out of jail. When he finally spoke publicly, his statement was brief and carefully worded, clearly crafted in close consultation with his legal team.
Mark, is there anything you want to say to the people of Indianapolis?
Right now I'm just focused on my recovery, but I'm focused on my recovery and I want to see my wife, I want to see my son, my 2 baby girls. There'll be a day to answer all these questions, and unfortunately today is not that day.
It was a masterclass in saying very little. Sanchez thanked first responders and mentioned his family, but explicitly declined to answer questions. Notably, when asked about Toll, he thanked the surgeon who saved his life, but offered no apology or acknowledgement of wrongdoing. From a legal standpoint, this made sense. Any admission could be used against him. But from a PR standpoint, the silence spoke volumes. His lawyer characterized his recovery as a long process during an October 22nd hearing, where Judge James Osborne excused Sanchez from appearing due to ongoing medical treatment. This underscores how close those stab wounds came to being fatal. A spectacular fall, an uncertain future. To understand the magnitude of Mark Sanchez's current situation, we need to examine how far he's fallen. This isn't just a story about one bad night. It's the culmination of a career marked by incredible early promise, followed by steady decline, public embarrassment, and now, potential criminal conviction. The arc of Sanchez's professional life reads like a Greek tragedy. Born November 11, 1986, in Long Beach, California, Mark Sanchez grew up in a Mexican-American household that valued athletic excellence and academic achievement. After his parents divorced when he was 4, he was raised primarily by his father, Nick Sanchez Sr., in Rancho Santa Margarita. His father put him through rigorous training, practicing sports skills while reciting educational facts, laying the foundation for mental toughness. By Mission Viejo High School, where he played under legendary coach Bob Johnson, who mentored Carson Palmer, Sanchez was recognized as one of the nation's top quarterback prospects. He led Mission Viejo to a 27-1 record over 2 seasons, including a 2004 California Interscholastic Federation Division II championship. When he committed to USC in July 2004, it felt like the beginning of something special. At USC under Pete Carroll, Sanchez redshirted in 2005, saw limited action in 2006, 2007, and used those years to develop his craft. There was a 2006 arrest on suspicion of sexual assault. Charges dropped, though he was disciplined for underage drinking, an early warning sign of judgment issues. When Sanchez finally became USC's starting quarterback in 2008, he exceeded expectations. He guided the Trojans to a 12-1 record, throwing for 3,207 yards, 34 touchdowns, second in school history, and only 10 interceptions.
Graduating was huge because I promised my parents I would. I declared early. I had another year to stay. So during that spring, so about now-ish, I was training for the combine, getting ready for the draft, and taking classes, which was tough.
Very unheard of, too.
His Rose Bowl performance against Penn State was legendary. 413 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in a 38-24 victory, earning MVP honors and cementing his status as a first-round NFL draft prospect. Despite Pete Carroll's advice to stay at USC for his senior year, he had only 16 college starts. Sanchez declared for the 2009 NFL Draft. He became the first USC quarterback to leave early since Todd Marinovich in 1991. The New York Jets were so impressed with Sanchez's potential that they traded up in the draft to select him with the 5th overall pick, making him the first-round quarterback the franchise had selected since Chad Pennington in 2000. The contract was staggering. 5 years, $50 million, with $28 million guaranteed. Life-changing money for a kid who had just turned 22 years old. The pressure was immense, the expectations sky high, but Sanchez initially seemed up to the challenge of becoming the franchise quarterback in one of the most demanding sports markets in the world. His rookie 2009 season was mixed statistically: 8-7 record, 2,144 yards, 12 touchdowns, and a concerning 20 interceptions. But the Jets made the playoffs, and that's when Sanchez showed the clutch gene that made fans believe he might be something truly special. He led road playoff victories over Cincinnati and San Diego, becoming only the 4th rookie quarterback to win a playoff game and the 2nd to win 2. The run ended in the AFC Championship loss to Indianapolis, but the foundation seemed solid and the future bright. The 2010 season elevated Sanchez to an entirely different level. He improved across the board: 3,291 yards, 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and an 11-5 record. The divisional playoff upset over New England, 3 touchdown passes, 0 turnovers, was a statement game that had Jets fans dreaming of a Super Bowl appearance. They fell 1 game short again, losing the AFC Championship to Pittsburgh, but Sanchez had tied an NFL record with 4 postseason road wins by a quarterback, joining elite company in NFL history. He graced GQ's cover in September 2011, embodying young, charismatic success. They called him the Sanchizee. HBO's Hard Knocks showed his leadership. Everything seemed perfect, but that GQ cover represented the absolute peak. It was all downhill from there. The 2011 season showed cracks: 18 interceptions, 8-8 record, missed playoffs, locker room dysfunction. But 2012 was catastrophic. The Jets stumbled to 6-9, Sanchez threw 18 more interceptions, and he was benched multiple times. But the moment that will forever define his career happened on Thanksgiving night against New England. The butt fumble, Sanchez running into his own offensive lineman's backside, fumbling the ball for a touchdown return, became an instant viral sensation. It was voted the most embarrassing play in NFL history. The torn labrum in 2013 preseason essentially ended his Jets tenure. He was released in 2014, beginning a journeyman phase: Philadelphia Eagles, 2014-15, brief stints with Denver, Dallas, Chicago, and Washington. In 2018, he was suspended for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy. He retired in 2019 with career statistics of 15,357 yards, 86 touchdowns, and 89 interceptions.
As much as it hurts to say goodbye to something you love so much, that you pour your entire life into, and is really your identity for a long time, you have to make the transition and remind yourself that is what I do or what I did. It will still be a part of my identity, but it's not everything.
He joined ESPN as a college football analyst, then moved to Fox Sports in 2021 for NFL broadcasts, where he seemed to be finding his rhythm as a media personality. He even appeared on The Masked Singer in 2020, married actress Perry Matfeld in A Beautiful Ceremony in 2023, and built what appeared to be a stable second act in the media industry with an estimated net worth around $40 million from his NFL earnings, endorsements, and broadcasting contracts. But as we've now learned through this devastating incident in Indianapolis, financial success and career rehabilitation don't automatically translate into personal growth or behavioral change. The warning signs that were present throughout Sanchez's playing career, the 2006 arrest in college, reports of off-field indiscretions during his Jets years, the PED suspension in 2018, all pointed to someone who struggled with impulse control and decision-making when alcohol or ego were involved. On October 4th, 2025, all those unresolved issues came crashing together in that Indianapolis alley, with devastating consequences for everyone involved. The incident has been viewed over 20 million times across all platforms.
Mark Sanchez. Okay, so we all followed this story on the internet as it was unfolding. So whenever I saw that Mark Sanchez, who was here to call the Colts-Raiders game, ended up being stabbed, I was like, oh no, this is not good. I do not like that this is happening in our city.
Every sports talk show has dissected what happened. Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson expressed genuine shock.
Mark was the aggressor, I guess, to this box truck driver who's a 69-year-old man, ends up stabbing him.
Pepper spray.
Pepper sprays him, tries to stop him, ends up stabbing him. There's like a
The Pat McAfee Show called it absolutely insane. The consensus: how does a 38-year-old man with everything to lose make such catastrophically bad decisions? Social media reactions ranged from sympathetic, prayers for both Mark and Perry, to harshly critical to darkly humorous, references to the butt fumble being upgraded to the blood stumble. Some defenders pointed out Sanchez nearly died, regardless of who initiated the confrontation. His family called it a distressing time, garnering some sympathy. But these voices were largely drowned out by overwhelming consensus that Sanchez brought this upon himself. Fox Sports has been eerily quiet. Sanchez was replaced by Brady Quinn, with no official statement. Even if he's acquitted, the damage to his reputation may be irreversible. Networks don't tolerate analysts involved in violent altercations with senior citizens, caught on camera while intoxicated. The trial is scheduled for December 11th, 2025. Sanchez has been excused from court due to ongoing recovery. The stab wounds were life-threatening. He's still recovering over 2 weeks later. If convicted, Sanchez faces 1 to 6 years in prison and $10,000 in fines. For a man worth $40 million, the fine is negligible. It's the prison time and permanent felony conviction that represent the real threat. Tole's civil lawsuit could strip Sanchez of millions. At 69, with permanent injuries requiring extensive facial reconstruction, Tole's quality of life has been permanently diminished. He said, "Faith guided my hands during the stabbing," a statement speaking to his trauma and desperate survival instinct. This incident has sparked conversations about alcohol abuse, impulse control, celebrity accountability, and employer responsibilities. It's highlighted the vulnerability of workers who should never fear being assaulted by intoxicated strangers who feel entitled. Whatever the outcome in December, the damage is done. The viral videos will exist forever. The blood stumble will join the butt fumble in Sanchez's legacy. Perry Tolle will see his scars every morning, reminded of that night. This is Mark Sanchez in 2025. Not the promising quarterback or media personality, but a man facing felony charges and a ruined career. One night of drunken violence erased decades of accomplishments. The new footage showed us the final, brutal chapter of a career that ended in violence and viral shame. There's no coming back from this. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.